Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm
How are
so
you?
excited. I'm good. I'm so excited about all of our chats today.
I know. I can't get enough of you today.
I know it's great, and we're getting like a lot of shout outs, which is always exciting.
Hey, Sayuri. I just saw one of my clients join.
Amazing. Yeah, we have some people joining right now. I'm trying to wave at as many of you as I can. I'm waving back, but we're excited to have you guys join us. This is going to be a great chat. I don't know how many people are in the New York area. We're having a little bit of a snowstorm, so I
Oh,
know some people are excited to have great content while they're snowed in,
what?
drinking their warm beverages.
I won't tell you how sunny it is in Florida right now then.
Yeah, yeah. I could see it though in the background. So, but we have people joining us from Israel, so that's exciting. Thank you for joining us from the other side of the world.
Yes.
But great. So everybody will keep joining, but we'll go ahead and kick off the conversation. Everybody that's joining us for our Tuesday talks, welcome back. We are having a really exciting chat today. We have Chelsea Krost. She is one of America's leading millennial experts. She was rated one of the top 20 contributors for millennial brand and marketing conversation on LinkedIn. She is a go-to speaker. She is a Forbes contributor. She has sat on the boards of companies like Cosmopolitan Magazine as a millennial board member. So we are about to get some exciting insights about how brands and retailers can really answer, respond, and deliver the needs and wants of millennials today.
Yeah. All that good stuff.
All that good stuff. So I have lots of questions, but for everybody that's joining us, this is meant to be conversational. So feel free to type in your questions to us. I'll go ahead and field them best I can, and we'll go ahead and answer as many questions as we can. So I think before we get started, let's tell us a little bit about you and how did you start in branding yourself as a millennial expert?
Yeah, well, that goes back now 12 years, which is hard to wrap my head around. I can't believe it's been over a decade. And it really all started with hi, Adrian. My aunt just joined in.
Awesome. I love it when the family joins. It's great.
It really all started with frustration. Actually, frustration in 2007. It was about the time where all of a sudden, all these mainstream affiliates and all of my idols like Barbara Walters and Oprah and Diane Sawyer and Katie Couric were so focused on the next generation. We were the teenagers, and the word millennial did not even exist, mind you. And everything about the teenagers was so negative. It was so lazy, entitled, narcissistic. Unfortunately, we hear all of those stereotypes still 12 years later, but we're slowly squashing them or changing perspective or mindset on millennials. And ultimately, I went to go look for a platform that was empowering my peers instead of belittling my peers. And at the time, social media was in its infancy, the iPhone was in its infancy, and the digital landscape was totally different than what it is today. And I truly couldn't find any other programming or platform outside of Disney Channel or MTV. And that exactly was not what I was looking for. So I was in South Florida in a public high school, Spanish River, and we had an amazing television production program. And through television production, I learned how to think about, putting together a radio talk show concept or any type of TV pitch. And decided that I wanted to channel my frustration into creativity and decided to put together a platform concept that I was craving. And it was a platform hosted by millennials, for millennials, to talk about anything and everything relevant to us. Whether it was sexting, cyberbullying, college, to landing your first job, internships, how to perfect your resume. I wanted to talk about everything, no holds bar. And long story short, took it to a Clear Channel Studios in South Florida, and 3 months later was the very first Teen Talk Live. So Teen Talk Live was the catalyst to my career. I could have never imagined, it blowing up into a 12-year career and journey. But really what the pivotal moment was as Teen Talk Live started to really gain in popularity. I started to work in television. as well. And in 2009, I was then asked by Kotex to be their millennial spokesperson, which was the game changer and truly the boom. This is 2009 of influencer marketing. And our 1-year agreement together turned into 5 years working together.
Amazing.
I call it my master's in influencer marketing time. And it was a total evolution in me just being a producer and host, but also helping brands. I realized that I was the bridge between brand and millennial consumer group, and helping brands and businesses understand the mindset of the millennial consumer, how to appeal to us, engage in us, market to us, give us an in-store experience. And here I am doing it 12 years later.
That's amazing. It's great to hear the journey and how you're so entrepreneurial about it and forward thinking, and you know, the industry definitely needed you. So I'm glad that you've been there kind of being a voice and helping, you know, brands and retailers and other companies. I mean, you've kind of worked in a wide spectrum from IBM to Intel to Kotex, and like really helping them understand the audience, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, millennials are starting to make their way up the leadership ladder, but most of the leaders and CEOs and, you know, in the C-suite are baby boomers and Gen Xers still. So we need to, as a generation, help educate all generations of how we think, act, purchase, shop differently today. And that's what we're doing today via Instagram Live, via Twitter chat tonight, right? It's such a digitally and socially connected world. And how are we bridging that into the brick and mortar experience as well?
Exactly. And that's a perfect segue for this conversation. I love everybody who keeps joining. So keep on, you know, listening, but asking your questions too. So, you know, when we think about that, right? And we think about the millennial generation, and I am going to probably sneak in a couple Gen Z questions, but
yeah,
how do you think it's shifted, right? Because you've been part of this since your teenage years. How has it shifted in the past year or so? Do you think that the generation, their expectations are shifting, and how can brands and retailers kind of like stay on the pulse of this?
You know, it's so amazing to even just be talking about the last year, Melissa, versus just the past decade, because a decade ago, I was convincing brands that they needed to have a Facebook page. And now it's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube, all of it, right? And really understanding that social media is used to connect with your audience, connect with your clients, consumers, shoppers, purchasers. And just within the past year, I truly have seen I would say the change that I've been waiting for since 2009. And I don't have to convince brands, companies, stores to think social, to think mobile, to think digital. They know it now. They know that they have no choice. We have to be incorporating a social, mobile, digital component. And I also think just on top of that, layering on top of the digital social element is influencer marketing and aligning influencers for both digital and physical events, right? So in store and also in the digital landscape. So I would say, you know, I was constantly educating the brand, constant education. Sometimes even I felt that I was shoving it down people's throats at times, you know, for people who were just like, I don't think we need Facebook. I don't think we need influencer marketing. Now that tide has changed within the past year. I am not having to convince people anymore. It is just known.
And what shift have you seen, right? Because Facebook's definitely a big point of conversation. Is it dead? What generations use them? So when it comes to millennials, like, what is the best way to interact? Is it Instagram? Is it Insta Stories? What are you seeing out there?
I think that, first of all, it really depends on what industry you're in. So first, you know, every industry definitely has social media channels that favor it. So for example, we're talking fashion, we're talking, you know, brick and mortar. Instagram's where it's at. It just is where it's at. If you're interested in influencer marketing, Instagram is the absolute dominating channel for influencer marketing. And then if you're in press, PR, editorial, event marketing, Twitter is an amazing component, or a social media channel. So really, I don't like to say just this channel, you know, only. I really believe you have to understand what industry you're in and where is your consumer consumer group, where is your audience? And you want to be where your audience is. So I'm all about picking the top 3 channels for your business. You know, everyone's like, you have to be everywhere. And I don't think you have to be the thing you have to do on every channel is at least get your handle name, just so that you can, you know, own that real estate. Then think about the top 3 channels that are the most effective to engage your customer within your industry. And LinkedIn is a must. We should all have LinkedIn. And then think about the other channels that are most relevant to your consumer group.
Mm-hmm. And so, you know, okay, so we talk about that. And everybody, when you talk about your consumer group, right? So everybody talks about there being 2 types of millennials. And they put buckets around it. And what do you think about that? And what do you think a strategy should be? You know, they're always creating customer personas. And so we can't just bucket a generation either. So how do you guide brands and retailers in that aspect?
Well, I would say that also feeds to how have you seen a shift in the past year? I think to that point, Melissa, a big shift in the past year has been about the need and the must to personalize our marketing messaging today. And we can't just, you know, put a one-size-fits-all model on our marketing and messaging strategy to appeal to the millennial consumer. So who are millennials today? We're about like 22 to 38. It's a really large age range, right? So like what appeals to a 22-year-old isn't really going to be, you know, what a 32, 35-year-old is at the, you know, their value, their interest, their revenue, their income. So that's why understanding what micro market within the overall millennial generation is really your target consumer. Meaning, are you after the college demo? Are you after the millennial mom and dad? Are you after the first-time home buyer millennial? These are all different micro markets within the overall millennial generation. And understanding who our niche audiences are will further allow us to customize our marketing messaging and experiences to those groups. So there are 2 kinds of millennials that you're talking about. I talk about 6 kinds of millennials. I think that there are 6 micro markets within the overall millennial generation. But I think the broad way to say there's 2 kinds of millennials is the millennial that is only a digital native, right? Doesn't even think about walking into a store, doesn't even think about picking up a phone. It's only customer service via, you know, Instagram DM or purchasing on a buyable pin on Instagram, versus the millennial that really values the in-store experience and speaking to people and face-to-face conversation. And I think that it doesn't matter what age you are as a millennial. It really, again, there's no such thing as one size fits all. I think that whether you're 22 or 32, the 22-year-old might not want to shop online and still go into a store. So again, it's really about understanding who your target audience is and customizing your messaging to speak to those niche audiences within the overall millennial generation.
Absolutely. And I think that for the most part, millennials are pretty vocal. Listen. And if they really listen to their audience, then they can start delivering experiences and understanding those different kind of niches that exist within the generation.
Yes. And this theme keeps coming up a lot, Melissa, this whole listening theme. And listening, you know, is so important. And I think there's, you know, I call it social listening. So not just listening to the people sitting next to you and your employees and your boss, but also listening to what the dialogue and chatter is online. What are people saying about different brands, different experiences, different events, different pop-ups, and really use it as a crowdsourcing opportunity to extract all this information and feedback. Polls, right? We have such easy polls now on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So extract or encourage feedback from your audience so that you're also using this to your advantage for helping to further refine customizing those experiences.
I agree. I think that brands that put out those polls get a lot of interaction when they say, you want to see X, Y, and Z. And I think that, you know, consumers want to have a voice. And if brands and retailers let them know that their voice is heard, that can go a long way in building customer relationship. So that
100%.
leads into a question we just got from Gerardo. According to a recent study by Total Retail, 45% of millennials expect more engaging with brands than retail stores. Can we talk about the difference between that and the loyalty expectations of the generation?
Millennials today and Gen Zers really do like to have that two-way conversation with brands that they love and that they're loyal to. And I actually think live stream has given us such an easy platform to create a conversation with everybody, right? So you and I are chatting, but we keep looking at these comments. We're inviting people to ask us a question, join in. So these are the activations, right? Activations meaning what are we doing on social media to activate with our audience and encourage engagement through live stream, through Twitter chats, through influencer takeovers, and the influencer takes over, you know, an Instagram live on behalf of a brand. These are all the activations that millennials really crave and are looking for more from the brands that they love most. And it is creating additional loyalty and creating more engagement because the brand is creating these activations and initiatives that are initiating the engagement. So that's a, you know, I kind of laugh because everybody wants to generate traffic. Everybody wants to generate click-through rate, conversions, purchases, right? And they just post something on Instagram and then 3 days later they post something else. And it's like, well, what are you doing to encourage the traffic? What are you doing to encourage the dialogue? And I'm all about having a signature traffic builder, whether you're a solopreneur or you are, you know, CoverGirl, I don't care, or Sephora, right? A signature traffic builder meaning something like what we're doing right now. Every week, you having a moment where you're engaging your audience. And signature traffic builders can be a blog, a YouTube series, a live stream, a Twitter chat like mine tonight. Look at how we're layering on to a Twitter chat with a live stream component. So these are all the activations that brands are doing more than ever, and we will see continuing to do more than ever as 2019 rolls out. Our influencer marketing budgets are getting bigger and bigger. I think that the biggest bracket for influencer marketing budgets this year is $100,000 plus. So all of that influencer marketing budget is also aligned to influencers doing live streams, creating video content, and engaging with their audience to encourage more engagement back to the brand.
So that leads to, because everybody talks about influence marketing, and a question I have is like, so what are some of your best practices when a brand or a retailer is looking to identify the right influencers? And, you know, a lot of them struggle with ROI from it. So I think content creation and authenticity and the genuine aspects of that relationship building are the tips that you give.
For influencer marketing, for brands who are looking to, you know, dip their toe or blow it out in influencer marketing this year, there's a few things to do first. And first things first is to evaluate what budget you have, right? Because if you really want to make an impact in the influencer marketing space, you can't just hope that people are going to do all this stuff for free. You have to compensate them somehow. So align a budget to influencer marketing. Secondly, not everyone's the right influencer for your brand. So make sure to discover and evaluate the right influencers that align with your industry, your brand message authentically. If you just pluck an influencer out of nowhere and start to align them with your brand and it's mismatched, you might do more harm than good. So make sure that influencer is relevant for your brand. Also make sure that the influencer is generating quality engagement. So if you see someone has 500,000 followers and they're getting 5 likes or 500 likes and not that much engagement, most likely they bought some followers. And all of those purchase followers are like dead weight. They're doing nothing for your brand, right? So make sure that the ratio between follower count, likes, and engagement makes sense. Then secondly, all brands are looking to activate influencers. Don't just think of those one-off posts. One blog post, one Instagram, that's not going to get you very far. That's not going to generate engagement. It's not going to generate relationships. just as like we're trying to generate engagement, it's all about building relationships with our audience today. So think about a longer term partnership with these influencers slash maybe brand ambassador, so that they're coming back again, and it's just more of a embedded thread in both their social channels and the brand social channel. So it's not just a one post and they're off. It looks like a bigger relationship, which also excites a lot of influencers today. They much rather have a, you know, a year-long agreement with one brand than, you know, 10 one-off posts. So all of these things will help make your influencer marketing more effective and also see better conversions as well.
So we have, yeah. So it's a tricky thing, and it takes a strategy. And we've struck a chord because we're getting some questions on this. We have one from Melissa. What are examples of brands that are most successfully connecting with millennials through these strategies?
Ooh, that's a good question. Brands most successfully in connecting with millennials, you know, I really go back to Tom's, because Tom's really set a new tone for what I think a lot of millennial minded marketing has become. And Tom's one for one model really also was a catalyst to brands really thinking about their corporate social responsibility and how are they using their brand presence, their following, their clout to also advocate for a social issue or a greater cause, right? Bigger than just the t-shirt that they're showing. So I think that Tom's is an amazing example and leader for the millennial minded consumer that is looking to justify their purchase because they know that their purchase is doing something better in the world. So I really like to use Tom's as an example because they kicked it off.
Absolutely. I think, you know, definitely millennials, they value authenticity, transparency, sustainability. The give back component definitely has to be genuine. I think in general, when you're working with influencers, it's really about understanding what the filter is, right? So that you're making the proper alignment, and that adds to that genuine nature of it. And we'll be going live again at 8, and we hope to see you all there. See, how can everybody best communicate with you? You can follow her on social.
If you've never joined a Twitter chat, it's much easier than it sounds. You truly just pull up your Twitter feed and search in the little search bar on the top right screen, type in #MillennialTalk, hit latest. That will show you the latest tweets, and really there's all the tweets for you to just chime in and get on the conversation. So I'm so excited to have you on tonight, Melissa, and just keep the conversation going here.
Exactly. We'll keep it going. We'll see you guys online. Thanks for joining us. And we will have a chat again very soon.